Now, here are your Betfred Super League highlights for the week. And because of the ongoing situations in the UK with some of the aces in the squads, rounds 12 and 13 will be the first part of your debrief for now. So we'll start off with all the round 12 fixtures first. And we got to start off with, apart from the Castleford being unable Castleford being unable to field a squad for their clash against St. Helens, the Saints were automatically awarded a 24-0 victory. So the first result, we've already covered that before, but we should refresh the memory instead. Our first game we get to cover, the Warrington Wolves running over the top of the Wigan Warriors, 40 points to 14.
Who would have thought that? I thought it would have been a lot better or closer match, really, for Wigan as well, being a top side alongside Warrington. But somehow Warrington were just a better side, easily.
Well, you also got to keep in mind, there is no Bevan French, no Zach Hardacre, and no John Bateman for Adrian Lamb at this point in time. French is out for the rest of the year. Hardacre and Bateman are long-term outs out of several months before they're able to play again.
True.
And they've had to rely on youngsters like Kai Pearce-Paul, like Yamila Handley, to come into the side, as well as the ongoing issues with Don Manfredi, which will result in his retirement at the end of the year. And with the speculation that Joe Bullock, I believe, has signed with the Warrington Wolves for next season, it's not looking good for Wigan. And Warrington, they just absolutely rolled over the top of the Warriors. They're not in the same standing that they were 2 months ago.
No, they weren't. And if this game was played 2 months ago, it would have been a lot closer and both teams would have been full strength. Jake Marmo, wow.
Bloody hell.
2 intercept tries out of his 3.
First, he makes a meal out of Oliver Gildart, pouncing on his offload before he got thrown into touch for the first try. And then, to back it up, picking off Harry Smith's try, and that second one was a lot more risky than the first.
It certainly was. And
because if he misses, Marshall or Gildart go in. And instead he runs length of the field again. So this bloke's probably gassed.
Mate, if he's got the energy there, he's going to use it. I don't think he would have got gassed during that game. And then his third try was just
taking advantage of a short dropout.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
Yeah. And I'd say it was, well, in my view, he was the player of the match. The stadium.
Oh, he definitely was. There was just no denying Jake Marmo, and there was no denying the Warrington Wolves, who they just picked Wigan off.
Yeah.
Right side of the field, left side of the field, it didn't matter.
And not so much up the middle, but it was more on the left side and right side of the field. But
it was just a rort.
It was. And it could have been a lot worse for Wigan. They could have been held scoreless. They could have been held to a try, a penalty goal.
No, but they were lucky to at least get a couple of tries on the board.
Yeah. Like I said, some's better than none.
Yeah. It exactly is.
It doesn't help their points percentage now or for their season.
Well, it doesn't help that they've been on a major losing run since Perpignan, I believe.
Yeah, so
they're in a bit of trouble, big time.
They are.
They are just holding on to a place in the top 6.
And they want to make the top 6. They better hurry up and pull their game out. But like you said, with no Bevan French for this season, and with John Bateman and
Zach
Hardacre out long term, things aren't looking too good at the moment. But with the youngsters, they could be obviously learning. I wouldn't say learning the game, but learning the speed of the game. And learning
all the combinations. Being able to compete at the top flight level.
Yeah. And they'll be learning all the combinations as well. So once they get that down packed, they should and maybe start working their way up.
5-game losing run, stretching back to their last win back in May against Salford by a drop goal. They have not won since, and they have not scored that many tries. They've only gone into double digits on one occasion in the last 5 games.
And one of those was a nil scoreline in favour of Catlin, so it's 48-0. Yeah, things aren't looking good at the moment for Wigan.
They need to pull it out, but I don't think they can at this point in time, and we'll cover more on Wigan's woes in a moment. Next up, the Leeds Rhinos, they are really charging at the moment. 48-18, a complete domination of the Leeds Centurions that began halfway through the first half.
It did. And Leeds Centurions the first to score again. Unlike what they have done.
So they're either competitive early or they're competitive late, but that middle part just kills them.
Yeah.
And it was an absolute slaughterhouse.
If they can string the middle part of the game together, then Lee will be in with a chance. But the Rhinos they literally ran over the top of him. They had a blinder of a game.
Jack Broadbent.
I was just about to say Jack Broadbent, 4 tries.
That Leeds left edge just
ran right.
You couldn't stop it. Tom Briscoe, Liam Sutcliffe, Cruz Leeming, that was just absolute ruthlessness from the Leeds Rhinos.
And what from the Centurions? The same that we've always said all season.
Yeah, it is.
Unfortunately. Defence.
Not there.
Not there.
Not the worst attacking side, but they're just not winning.
No. And like we just said, they either start off well or finish off well. They just can't get that middle part of the game right. Once they get that, then they might be able to finish them off. Which has also been a work in progress for them for the whole season.
And 2 head coaches.
Yes. So, like I've been saying, hope things turn around about Leeds after having, a couple of weeks.
Leeds are in trouble. Early on, they were in trouble, but now they've been building.
Well, they've had a couple of weeks too when they couldn't play due to some certain thing.
To cases. In other squads, which they couldn't control.
But even with all that drama going on, it's come out and put a performance on like that. You have to give a lot of credit to the Rhinos, though.
Yeah, you do. You absolutely do.
And especially like Broadbent and all that, he just had a magnificent game by far.
He definitely did. You take your opportunities when you get them, and I think he's well on his way to becoming a cult hero. I mean, we all know Tom Briscoe could still be one of Leeds' best try-scoring weapons, but this bloke, he's fast coming up there.
He'll be coming a close second, I believe. We'll come at the end.
And it's interesting because of the injury crisis at Leeds, where they've missed Robert Louis for a large portion of the time, as they have Luke Gale. Yeah. Harry Newman's not played a game all year, I recall. Neither has Jack Walker. Yet with guys like Richie Myler, with Liam Sutcliffe, and then you throw in your Jack Broadbent, your Jared O'Connors, your Sam Walters, your Holroyds. You throw all those blokes in, you give them an opportunity to start, and that's what they can deliver.
Yeah. So whether or not it's a lot of the top players out, they've still got the youngsters that are just as capable. So that's good to see. Like I said, with the NRL in part 1 of this week's episodes, they've got flexibility in their squad. Yes, it might take some time sometimes, but in the end it pays off.
It does. And there will be rewards at the end of it, especially now that Leeds are closing in on that top 6.
And fast.
Speaking of the top 6, we earned from just outside the top 6 to the very summit. The Catalan Dragons absolutely destroying the Huddersfield Giants, 50 points to 12.
What can you say?
When you're top of the table, you're top of the table. I think that's what
you're on top of the table for a reason. And Catalan just showed again why they're on top of the table and why they are giving it to St. Helens and the likes. 50 points. Wow.
Genuinely, that was an implosion from the Huddersfield Giants.
And put it this way. No person, or no player, I should say, in the Catalan side scored more than 1 try. So there's a lot of different try scorers.
And James Maloney was right in the thick of it. 1 try he did score off of Artur Morg. 1 try assist on Mike McMeekin slicing through early for the first try. And the other thing was, that was within like 62 minutes. 62 minutes, and they've put on practically 9 tries.
Yeah. And
2 tackle breaks, and of course he was 100% with the conversion. So
sweet. That's what you want. If your team's on sun, you might as well finish them off while doing the kicking.
Yeah.
But Huddersfield, they just went nowhere.
No Caesar, no Gaskell. Relying on guys like Oliver Wilson and Ollie Ashall-Bott Jake Wardle was probably the only redeeming thing you could say in that Huddersfield performance.
Yeah. Well, with that Gaskell there and
Caesar.
Caesar, it obviously played a huge part in that. If they were there, maybe a closer game. Maybe even the upset, but without them two players, they weren't there. Big loss.
And it showed. It showed. And Ian Watson is probably back under the spotlight at this moment because, I mean, I know he's got dealing with a rookie coach and Richard Marshall that's sitting at Salford and Kurt Haggerty that has had to come in for John Duffy. But he's got to find a way out of this, Ian Watson.
And fast. Also could cost him a job sooner rather than later.
Well, we'll see what happens on that front.
I hope it doesn't, but who knows?
Anyway, the other fixtures that were meant to be happening with round 12, Hull KR and Hull FC, the derby at the KCOM Craven Park, that's been rescheduled until the 15th or 16th of July, depending on which side of the world you live in. As for Salford and Wakefield, that game is yet to be locked in. Now, there are only 2 games from round 13 of the Betfred Super League, and once again, another forfeited match, this time going Castleford's way, as Huddersfield unable to field a side, so, unable to fulfill your commitments, you cop a 24-0 loss. As for the Tigers, they understand this, and they are probably a bit happier. They were awarded a win for a change.
Why was Huddersfield not able to...
A whole range of mitigating factors, not too dissimilar from the Tigers.
Or was it just because the team didn't want to play after their massive loss to Capitals?
No, it would have been that. It wasn't that. I guarantee you it wasn't that.
Okay.
So anyway, the results that did go ahead, the grand final rematch between the Saints and the Wigan Warriors. And it went the Saints' way, 24 points to 6 in wet and raining conditions.
It wasn't really a... Well, it was the grand final rematch, but to an extent. Like, same clubs, but not as close, I believe.
Well, Wigan were already down on morale, down on form, and down on players.
Which plays a
but
major
it
factor.
doesn't matter. When it comes to a Wigan Saints derby, the oldest and probably the most passionate rugby league rivalry, probably tied with the Roosters and the Rabbitohs in this country.
Yes.
When you're one or two of the 4 oldest clubs in the game, or most recognisable and the most hated rivals, you want to lift for this game. I mean... But St. Helens, they controlled it early on, and Lachlan Coote, I mean, with all the talk that he's signing with Hull Kingston Rovers for next season, he doesn't look like he's going anywhere for the moment. But of course, with St. Helens, the salary cap still remains a problem. But even so, Coote's performance on the day, 1 try assist, 130 running meters, and 6 from 7 goals converted in a very tight tussle.
And most of those goals... Well, 3 of those goals were from conversions and the other 3 were penalties. So, now if St. Helens have to let Lachlan Coote go, yes, they'll be missing him.
But they'll get Jack Wellesby,
who's just as good, if not better. So they've got signings and people within their club that can replace him quite comfortably.
I would dare say, St. Helens are the most professional rugby league organisation anywhere in the world.
I have to agree.
Hands down. I just think they are.
Yeah. They've been around long enough to know how the game works. They know how to run the club well. They know how to...
And they know what success looks like.
Yeah, exactly. If Lachlan Coote goes, who's the goal kicker?
Well, Mark Percival resumes the goal kicking duties. If he's in and out, then it's Tommy Makinson.
Well, at least they've got cover.
Yeah, there's a little bit of spite in this game as well. As there usually is with Saints, Wigan and derbies.
Literally any derby, not just Saints, Wigan.
Oh, any one of them could explode any moment. Just say Good Friday 2004, Grand Final 2014. Just it could explode at any point, and it almost did between Willie Isa and Mark Percival. And I was told that they're usually friends. So
that might be off the field, but on the field they're not.
But Willie Isa, he did go off like a bloody pork chop, as did Kai Pearce-Paul. Both of them bloody pork chops.
Yep.
And yellow carded not too far from the other.
No, it was pretty
Literally,
close.
Kai Pearce-Paul was due on within a couple of minutes. And what happens? Willie Isa gets yellow carded for 2 incidents. And simultaneously, just come on.
Do you reckon a red was involved? or do you think the yellow cards were fair?
No, I think the yellow cards were fair.
Yeah, I agree. But if there's a couple more incidents involving them players, well, then it might have been a red. But obviously it didn't happen. But St. Helens was just too good.
I didn't get that far out of hand, but the champs, they just keep going on. Not as to the high standards they have set in the past, but they are still continuing at a steady pace and are keeping touch with the summit of the table.
Yeah, and that includes Catlands.
Yes. Now, the other result, and the only one played in round 13, the Warrington Wolves going down to the Leeds Rhinos, 22 points to 16.
Upset?
I think Leeds have just done what Warrington did the Saints. They use the game plan, bully them through the middle, frustrate the flamboyant attacking sides, and they'll, because there was a lot of drop ball from Warrington.
Which is not like
nothing was sticking with the Wolves.
Which is not like them at all.
And Leeds capitalised on the opportunities of the Wolves' misfortunes. I was about to say Warriors, but I meant to say Wolves.
Yeah. No, Leeds has had a brilliant game, and they showed that they are capable of making the top 6 playoff series.
Leeds are riding high. They're in good form. They're playing confident football, and they've just knocked off a big contender.
Yeah, massive contender.
So that's now put Saints and Catalan on notice. This about what Leeds Rhinos are capable of.
Yeah, they're on a bit.
And considering this was about Luke Gale, that's just even more impressive.
Yeah, Leeds are on that roll like what Wakefield have been on or are on at the moment too. I know Wakefield haven't really played top teams that have knocked off, but they are up there knocking off teams slowly but surely. So they're kind of in the same boat as the Rhinos, in good form, which is what you need at this time of year. Because at this time of year, it's either do or die. You know,
the second try for Josh Charnley, Warrington is still able to pick off your defence. And even though I think it's a little bit concerning that they weren't able to go after Leeds, even though they were down to 11 men. I know this was like with a minute and a half to go, but still, if you can't get up over the top of an 11.5 defensive side, who can you go over the top of?
Well, it shows that the Rhinos' defence was really good.
Yeah.
If you're down to 11 men, having that good defence is a very, very good confidence booster heading into other matches that you might be in a similar situation in, which you hope not would happen, but anything can happen in league.
Yeah, it definitely can.
I don't know, like, if that game dragged on more, could have Warrington made it level, if not won the match?
It's a big if, but something that is a certainty, Reece Martin. Another fine performance from him. 154 running metres, 3 tackle breaks, 1 offload, and 5 from 5 off the boot. The Cummel shot-up shooter.
Yeah, he was definitely there for PNG come the World Cup if there is one.
And the luxury of also having Conrad Hurrell, who did have to come onto the field because Jack Broadbent unfortunately didn't get much game time. I think because he went down injured, but Conrad Hurrell, he's just...
Well, he's recovered from his boxing debut, obviously. If you want to hear more about that, go back to episode 25.
Link will be in the description.
Yes.
So, no, we'll just put it in the end titles.
Yes.
Or they'll be there.
So it will be there
Either
to
way.
go back to last week's part 2 to hear more about Conrad Hurrell's boxing career
Which
far.
Didn't go down well at all.
Yes. But it was good to see that teams can beat Warrington. And ones that aren't above them on the ladder.
It definitely is. And with all the talk about Anthony Seibold potentially not happening, but there was a report from the Daily Telegraph that Anthony Seibold was being approached to be the coach of the Leeds Rhinos as of 2022. Of course, Gary Everington, the Leeds chief executive, he's just like, the chairman, he's just like, where did this report come from? Richard is our coach into next year and beyond.
It's media speculation. Media love to start rumours.
I'll tell you what this is, and I know this is going to sound completely from the dialect of Donald Trump, but it is. It is fake news from the Australian League media. It honestly is. It is fake news.
Yeah.
That Anthony Seibold has been linked with the Leeds Rhinos.
Well,
Especially they had not even consulted Gary Hetherington, and he's had to come out and say, no, this is not true. Richard is our coach at the moment, and he will be our coach into the foreseeable future. Where did this even come from?
Yeah.
It gives me the ultimate shits. Because Gareth Whittam is the ultimate example of a recurring fake news story. How many times have you seen an NRL halfback, like George Williams, or some other club that is struggling at the moment, whether it's the Dogs, the Roosters, the Broncos, whoever, Gareth Whittam's name. And this was happening for months.
Yeah.
That he was, it's Gareth Whittam on his way back to the NRL. Gareth Whittam set to join X. Gareth Whittam being offered up to Y. Just stop.
Yeah.
It's fake news.
He was even linked coming back to the Dragons.
It was fake news beyond anything that just proves why we are doing this podcast in the first place. We are marketing ourselves as the one-stop shop for rugby league. So that means we're not going to bullshit you if it's someone from the Daily Telegraph, from Fox Sports, Wide World of Sports, or even in the 9 newspapers that come out and say something about someone who's been linked to the NRL, who is a high-profile name like Gareth Whittam. We're going to call it out.
Or even Blake Austin.
It's the same story with Blake Austin. Aiden Caesar.
Aiden Caesar just recently, to be honest, because he's signed with Huddersfield.
Supposedly signed with the Giants.
Supposedly, I should say. And then he's come...
But it ultimately gives me the shit. To the Raiders. Because most people in Australia, and I'll be fair, they don't watch the Super League. But at least give them the full story about what the hell's going on. That's all.
Media like to put a twist on what the story is. Always has been, always will be.
When it comes to Super League, the Australian sports media just makes it up as it goes along. Unless
there's a game over in Australia.
They just do. Unfortunately, they do.
A couple of years ago.
Well, now that they've got that out of the way, it just has to be said.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, I like guys like Phil Rothfield at the Daily Telegraph, Paul Kent, James Hooper, whoever. But come on, I'm one of those blokes that do watch Super League. You probably don't. So just don't tell porkies about it.
Yeah. It's to say
if you can give me concrete information, or I know you probably got your contacts in your systems and your networks that you can't really reveal because confidentiality, but if you can concretely prove that it is happening, then I'll backtrack. But until then, just don't.
Well, like out of those 3 journalists that you mentioned, they're just trying to see who gets 1, the better views on the stories, and 2, who's a better journal overall. That's what that's all about.
I mean, but they all do it.
Oh yeah,
it's not a Daily Telegraph or a Fox Sports thing. It's universal, whether you're at Wide World of Sports, the 9 newspapers, or even Channel 7 perhaps.
Yeah.
It's universal.
Yeah.
All right, that's enough ranting about fake news in the media. Unless I'm here to make rugby league again. And in this country, no, not going there. Not going there.
Good.
Or are we?
No.
No, I'm joking.
No.
All right,
good.
Round 14. We should really continue on with this. Leeds Rhinos up against the Catalan Dragons in front of the Sky Sports cameras at Emerald Headingley.
Well, what a match this one's got to be, eh? Leeds are on a roll, and the Catalans have been absolutely flying as of late.
Both sides have been flying. Leeds have only had one loss in the last 6. Catalan, all 6 they've won.
I'm going to say there, match of the weekend.
This could be an absolute blockbuster of a game. If Leeds can match it with the Catalan forward pack, and remember, they can have Artur Morg come on anywhere as a little surprise packet.
Anywhere, anytime.
And then, of course, you've got to contend with your regulars. Sam Tompkins, James Maloney, Josh Drinkwater. The 3 of them in the spine with Michael McAlorum. They are flying high.
Yes.
I mean, if you look at the last month alone, I'm trying to do the maths as fast as I can, but put it bluntly, they have only conceded less than 60 points and probably scored just as many.
If not more.
70, 84. That makes 100. 150 to about 60.
Yeah.
So it's a big factor. It's practically a 2-to-1 factor of points scored versus conceded.
Yeah.
If that maths is right, let me know. Otherwise, I've just made an idiot of myself. But
well, you already have.
It's the point I've made that scoring faster and but harder than they are conceding.
Yeah. It's matching around. Either way, it's going to be one of the games that will go down in history.
I wouldn't say history,
season.
but it'll be a cracker. It will be a
I
cracker.
say for the 2021 history. The history of the season. Been one of the absolute crackers. It's a flip of the coin. Catalans are going well. Rhinos are on a roll.
But someone's got to win. Someone's got to either jump into the top 6 or maintain their place at the top of the table. Who's it going to be?
Rhinos.
You're going to go for an upset.
Yep. Rhinos 1-12.
All right. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to say the Catalan Dragons win on a 1-12 margin. I think Leeds, if they can match it through the middle and their left edge can go up against their right edge defensively because they're both good attacking edges, but I still think Catalan can come out on top. Meanwhile, over at the Mobile Rocket Stadium, Wakefield Trinity play host to St. Helens.
Wakefield are on a roll. They are improving as the season goes on. But St. Helens, as we already know...
It's a Saints 13+. We all talk about the games that are certainties and then those that excite. That Leeds Catalan game, that could excite anyone because Leeds have been... And after knocking off Warrington, and they've put the rest of the league on notice, especially those in the top 6. But here, you sort of know the result already. I know that might sound defeatist, but
we did see the Rhinos upset Warrington last week, so anything could happen.
I'm sticking with Saints 13+ to win this.
I'm going to say Saints to win, but in 1-12 margin.
All right, you think Wakefield are going to be competitive with this?
Well, with the back to what Wakefield have been doing over the past, you could say month and a bit, or a month, they're going up the ladder ever so slowly. And they are winning more games than what they were at the start of the season. I reckon this game, if they can keep it within in a 1-12 margin, this will really boost their season even more for Wakefield. So St. Helens 1-12.
All right, universally on Saints there. Now, all the Monday fixtures. We've got Hull FC hosting the Leeds Centurions at the newly sponsored MKM Stadium in Hull.
Well,
there'll still be no Jake Connor for Hull FC, so that is a downside.
But they can still win without him.
And, look, Lee, all you have to do is bully them through the middle and you'll overwhelm them on the edges. That's exactly what's happened here.
But will Lee start well or finish well?
Oh, it depends. It's a lottery, but unfortunately the results all the same. I'm going to have to say Hull FC win 13+ again.
It's the first time Hull FC have played for... a week or two.
For some time.
But they'll be coming out strong as fresh as Hull FC 13+.
Also, in Hull on that day, Hull Kingston Rovers hosting the Warrington Wolves at the Hull College Craven Park. So on the other side of town, Warrington are coming to and they're probably going to be looking out to settle a bit of a score.
Well, this one could be
after upset last week.
This one could be a close one too.
Well, given the way Hull KR have been playing, I wouldn't be surprised. The left edge especially should worry the Wolves, especially when you got the likes of Jordan Abdul, Sean Kenny-Dowell, Ryan Hall, all playing down that left-hand side. I would be very concerned.
And then you got Warrington, who had a surprising loss, but then they also won.
Well, if Gareth Widdop plays, it could change things, but...
It'd still be a close game.
I think Hull KR will definitely make this a close game.
It'll be a close second to the Rhinos Catalans game have been game of the round, I reckon. I believe that Hull KR will be that little bit stronger and go 1-12 for Hull KR.
If they can limit Ryan Hall's... I think it has to come down with Ryan Hall and Jordan Abdul on that left edge. If they can limit their impact down that side, as well as holding the stronger forward pack, if they can match it through the middle, especially with Darryl Clark being the key. Danny Walker's good, but Darryl Clark's the game changer. In my view. I know the age differences and Clark's getting closer to retirement than Walker is, but he's still, at this point in time, he's probably one of England's best dummy halves.
Easy.
Well, you got Josh Hodgson because you throw the NRL Super League argument up. It's just you got Hodgson, then you got Paul McShay, and Reigning Man of Steel. You got Darryl Clark. up there.
Well, not easy, but he is still one of the best.
Oh,
Age is nothing.
Age shall not weary them. That's what we are told.
If you're still playing well at 40,
ask Cameron Smith.
Go for it. Keep playing.
I think Warrington bounced back here, and I think they keep the pressure on the Saints, and I think they come away 1-12 victors. But I think Hull KR will throw up a fight.
Yeah, you already heard mine. Hull KR 1-12.
Meanwhile, in front of the Sky Sports cameras, we'll be back at the DW Stadium as the Wigan Warriors play host to the Huddersfield Giants.
This one's another going to be a cracker of a game, as Wigan have been going on downhill, slowly going downhill.
Since last May. And that win at Salford, but look, the Huddersfield Giants, they're disappointing. Point blank.
They're hot and cold.
They're disappointing.
They're hot and cold.
They've had moments of brilliance, but it's mainly been overshadowed by the fact that this squad is not up to scratch.
No, which is disappointing to see.
It just isn't.
They've got the quality there, the players there, they just can't execute it on the field.
If there was a game for the Wigan Warriors to bounce back on against a desperate Huddersfield side, I think this would be the game that they bounce back on.
Yeah.
I think this is the moment where Wigan arrest this slide they've been on ever since setting foot in the south of France.
Yeah.
This is a Wigan 1-12 victory.
Yeah, I agree. Wigan 1-12. Like both teams are going
poorly.
I was going to say a lot nicer, but yeah, it has to be a Wigan 1-12 in what would be a close match.
And finally, from the Menderhost jungle, we've got the Castleford Tigers up against the Salford Red Devils. Well, Castleford have been a while since they've played. They should be fresh.
Should be. Doesn't mean they will be.
And honestly, it's like the same story with Lee Centurions. Salford, they're not up to task.
Well, especially the attack.
But they just aren't. I mean, when have Salford actually looked threatening?
When they lost by a drop goal and come within a couple.
But I mean, are they going out there and they absolutely destroying sides?
No.
Maybe if Jackson Hastings and Joey Lussick were in the spine, they would have been.
Then yes.
But they're just not.
No.
They've ridden that high all the way to Old Trafford. They managed to scrape in at Wembley, but since then they have not been competitive in league fixtures.
No.
And Castleford, while they haven't been going well either, they are still in a much stronger position than Richard Marshall's men are. And this, I've got nothing more to say. I think Jordan Turner has been a good buy for them. He has
been, yes.
With all the chopping and changing of the left winger between him and Greg Eden, and the fact that Sasai Feki has not played a game all year long.
No, that's true.
Which has been a waste of time. I'm sorry, but
he's really good
he was
too.
meant to be Castleford's marquee man ahead of the 2020 season, and he just hasn't had an impact.
No.
It's been James Clare, Greg Eden, and especially Jordan Turner that have been ever present.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Castleford 13+ victory here.
Yeah. Like I said, Castleford should be fresh. They've had a week or two off. They got the easiest victory I ever get by gaining an easy 2 points. Salford, like you mentioned, they haven't been the best all year. They've been bad at times, but not that bad. So,
well, I mean, at least they actually have won 2 games. I mean, that's the only thing in their defence. The problem is they haven't backed it up.
Yes, consistently either. I'm going to say Castleford. Do I go 13+ or 1-12?
Your call.
Stuff it. I'm going to go Castleford 1-12.
All right. You think it's going to be a close game? I think it's going to be a blowout.
But it's going to be more on the higher end of the 1-12 margin than what it's going to be on the lower end on the 1-12 margin.
All right. Well, that is full time from us for this week. If you liked either part 1 or part 2 or even both, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the Sideline Chat podcast so you never miss a week of rugby league action. Hope you enjoy this weekend's footy. If you got a break, if you're not the Dragons, hope you enjoy it. If you can actually play this weekend and in the UK, good on you. And hope to see you back ahead of State of Origin Game 3, which should be an absolute belter of a game in Newcastle.
Newcastle!
Yes, all right, St. George party goer. Along with Mark Henry, I am Connor Marcellus, and you have been listening to the Sideline Chat. See you next week.
See us.